Every year, the Sea Ranch Association's Trails Committee sponsors an activity called the Circumambulation, also known as the Circ. And this year will be no different than previous years. The Circ will take place on Labor Day weekend, on the Saturday, I believe, of Labor Day. And today it's in July. We're in the middle of July at the moment. The Circ comprises about 20 miles of Sea Ranch trails. And it starts from the south around the Moonraker Recreation Center and continues up to the north, all the way across over to the bluff, and then back south down the bluff trail to the Moonraker Recreation Center. It's not exactly the entire length of the Sea Ranch, but it's quite a lot of it. There are also alternative trails that can be done on the day of the Circ. One of them is called the Half Circ, where you essentially do about 10 miles. You go up about halfway, you cut through to the bluff trail in the middle, and then you go back towards the start. Well, today I'm going to try to do a maybe 1/3 circ, probably about 5 or 6 miles. And I'm going to follow the route on the northern end and be able to see how the terrain is and how I do with it. So let's go take a walk. I'm approaching the entrance to a spur trail from the other side of Highway 1 from Leeward Spur. Highway 1 is quite busy, so you have to be careful crossing. But the spur trail essentially hooks up with the main part of the Circ. So this will be a short detour from the main Circ trail so that I can join it at the 1/3 point. And here we go. I should note that the Circ is almost entirely on private Sea Ranch trails. In order to be able to use these trails, you need to be a member of the Sea Ranch Association, which you can become by purchasing a house at the Sea Ranch or a lot, or you can be here as a guest, either a guest directly of a member or a guest of a house which is offered for short-term rentals. Either way, you can then join the Circ and take a walk around the Sea Ranch. It's a bit of a climb from the Highway 1 on the spur up here to the trail. I haven't quite made it up to the top of the trail, which is joining it at the ridge, which forms the eastern side of the Sea Ranch. But in this particular area, it's a little bit of a meadow, and throughout the Sea Ranch, you can come across historical markers, such as this, which describes, well, the history of the Sea Ranch. This particular area used to be an orchard farm, and it notes that there are 2 remaining trees from that orchard, and those trees are right down here, I believe. I wonder if they fruit. I'll have to check it out sometime, maybe later in the summer. But pretty interesting. The rest is open meadow. So we'll continue on up to the trail. Carry on, Steve. Sometimes it's fun when you're walking on a trail that's in the open area, not too covered by trees and rough terrain, to do a hiking song. Well, I was in the Boy Scouts, and it was called the Boy Scouts then. And of course, during many of our Boy Scout activities, we learned about some hiking songs. One of the hiking songs I enjoyed the most was from the movie Follow Me Boys. Fred MacMurray and his band of scouts who go hiking off. I don't even remember what the plot of the story is, but I remember the song. There's a job to do, there's a fight to win. Follow me, boys, follow me. And we can't move it till we all pitch in with a grin. Pitch in and follow me. Follow me, boys, follow me. When you think you're really beat, that's the time to lift your feet and follow me. Boys, follow me. Pick 'em up, put 'em down and follow me. It's a long, long climb, but we've got the will. Follow me, boys, follow me. When we reach the top, then it's all downhill till you drop. Don't stop and follow me. Follow me, boys, follow me. When you think you're really beat, that's the time to lift your feet and follow me. Boys, follow me. Pick 'em up, put 'em down and follow me. Though the journey's end is beyond our sight, follow me, boys, follow me. If we've done our best, then we've done all right. Pack your load and hit the road and follow me. Follow me, boys, follow me. When you think you're really beat, that's the time to lift your feet. Follow me. Boys, follow me. Pick 'em up, put 'em down, and follow me. In addition to historical markers, there are, of course, trail markers scattered throughout the Sea Ranch. This is trail marker 129, and it seems to have three options. Well, the arrows pointing to the left are the way I just came. The arrows pointing to the right is where I'm going to be heading because I'm going to the north side of the Azalea Loop Trail. The arrow pointing forward is the south side of the Azalea Loop Trail, which is a very nice loop, but I'm going to take the north route because that joins, well, I guess I'm right now on the Circ, and that is the route of the Circ. So off we go to do a little more climbing. Yeah, so this is the wooded area. So no trail songs here. Sea Ranch Trails Committee has built a number of really helpful boardwalks, bridges, and so forth to be able to make the trail more passable during rainy weather, which this dry culvert would be quite wet during that period. But, when you're walking through the woods, focus on the terrain, which can be uneven and lots of roots. Make sure that you don't trip. Now I have with me my hiking sticks. There are two of them, one for each arm. And it also helps with stability and stabilization. So when I'm going up or I'm going down, it can help me in terms of both powering up and supporting myself when I'm going down hills. Very helpful. Well, we haven't quite gotten up to the top of the ridge, but this is a particularly beautiful area of the trail. We've entered into the redwood section. That's a nice little redwood right to the right and a much older one to the left. I'm sorry, the other way around. The older one is to the right and the younger one is to the left. But it's very beautiful in this area, even though there are some fallen trees and debris and so forth. It's all returning to a state of nature where it's decomposing and otherwise clearing itself out. We do get quite a few storms here in the winter, which can knock over old trees. You can see that one is kind of leaning over a little bit in the center. But we'll continue on the trail and see what lies beyond. This is part of the trail I just came over, and I'm heading towards this area. And I'm coming across this family of redwood trees, which are in a circle right in the middle of the trail. We cut through the family, and wow, these trees are just so enormous, so big, and they've seen a little bit of history themselves. This one's obviously had some fire in its day, as has this one, but they carry on and continue to grow and have children of their own, such as this little cluster right by the side of the trail. Quite magical part of the Sea Ranch. I've come down to a area where there is a little bit of a stream flowing through. Come down to a bit of a gully, and a little stream that I assume is flowing to the ocean. Where else is it going to go? But I don't see any fish in the stream. It's really nice that the Sea Ranch Trails Committee maintains these areas and has built a nice little bridge across the stream, so I don't have to jump or otherwise get my feet wet. But it's a very pretty little part of the area here. So we'll cross and keep going. Another feature of the Sea Ranch trail system is every once in a while you'll come across a rest. Usually it's a log, but in this case it's a bench where you could take a seat and enjoy the area that you've been walking in. This is looking down on the little stream that we crossed earlier. Very pretty, bucolic even. Lots of trees of various types, redwoods and other trees. If you listen closely enough, you can even hear the little stream down below. Looks like we have another stream crossing ahead. This one is more natural, well, to a certain degree. And on we go. We're coming out of the woods onto what looks like a fire road. And we're at trail marker 131. No bicycles allowed here. Okay. Caution. Mountain lions have been observed in this area. And some information about what to do if you happen to come across one. Fortunately, I've never had that opportunity, so I believe we have had, indeed, mountain lions in the Sea Ranch area, but they're pretty shy, and they generally don't want to mess with us, just like we don't want them to mess with us. So, carry on down this fire road. This fire road actually enters onto an area which is outside of Sea Ranch, which in the opposite direction of which I'm walking. There's a timber company that owns a lot near here. However, we do come across a Sea Ranch amenity known as the dog park. Very nicely built. There's a little holding area which is separate just for, some dogs which may want to stay on their own, and there's a big area to run around. They always have water stations here so that your pup can get something to drink when they're thirsty. And of course, you need to have your scoopers to be able to make sure that the area stays clean. Very nice facility. don't see a lot of people using it, but I don't get here very often. You will see high voltage power lines through Sea Ranch, but the houses' power are all underground. So if there is a power outage, it's usually something happening to one of the big feeder lines. This part of the trail is going past a few houses, or at least a couple houses anyway. One over there in the woods. Yeah, we're heading on the north end of Sea Ranch at this point, and we will be crossing Highway 1 in a little while. Not quite yet, but we're heading towards that goal. Cross Highway 1 and then head back to the bluff. But for now, we're still on the eastern side, and we have a little bit more hiking to do on this side. Coming down to a road crossing up ahead. No, that's not Highway 1. This is Deer Trail, which runs through a good length of Sea Ranch. I'm currently on what's known as Saloon Trail. I'm not sure why it's called Saloon Trail. I haven't passed any saloons, but perhaps there used to be some. No bicycles, no smoking, but go ahead and hike as much as you like. So we're heading over to the other side of the Saloon Trail. I see there's a bird guarding the post. So we'll keep an eye on the bird as we get closer. See which way he wants us to go. What do you think, birdie? Should I go this way? It's a western jay, scrub jay, I'm not sure which. But there's lots of birds. Yes, I know I moved you. I'm sorry about that. But I think I'm not sure which one this is. I better check my map. Coming along Deer Trail here, and heading towards another trail that we'll be cutting off onto. But this gives you a good idea of the open trails at Sea Ranch. There are a lot of them, not just ones going in the woods. Soldiering on here. We're crossing another road. This is Halcyon. Better get out of the street here. Hear traffic coming. It's not terribly busy on the streets of Sea Ranch, but we do get some traffic. Yeah, the roads of Sea Ranch are all private. There is a sign usually at the beginning of the road near Highway 1, which explains that it's private. You need to be a member or guest in order to use the roads. If you look up the Sea Ranch on the internet, you'll probably read about it being a utopian community, or at least that was the idea behind it. There are some aspects of it that seem really quite special. You'll notice the houses around Sea Ranch are not ostentatious. They blend in with their terrain to some degree. They don't draw attention to themselves. They are separated and spaced out. The land is given plenty of space for it to develop, with large areas of commons, such as what I'm walking on right now is a common. This trail in this area. So it is a very special place, but it's not a utopia. That's certainly not the case. Any space with people in it is going to need some energy put into it in order to keep order. And Sea Ranch is no different. Looks like we're coming out back to Halcyon again. These roads, they just come on and on. Oh, there's a little deer in the distance. Hello, deer. How you doing there? Yeah. You'll come across all kinds of animals, but there are a good deal of deer in the Sea Ranch. Another feature of Sea Ranch is the golf links. And we are in the general area of one of the holes, or a series of holes. They're linked, of course. And you can see up ahead, there is a golf cart crossing, which we won't be playing any golf here. We'll just be crossing it. Well, I totally missed that. I walked down to that golf course crossing in the distance, but I missed the fact that I was supposed to go this way. So, not an exactly well-marked turn of this particular path, but fortunately I had my trail map with me and was able to suss out where I should be going, which is across this little bridge. Let's cross over. Okay, well, we're picking up the trail. This is 144. I happen to notice, well, somebody's doggy do bag left behind, and maybe he's coming back later to pick it up. But look at these two little pieces of flora. You know what these guys are? They are an invasive species. They are better known as naked ladies, which are not yet blooming, but they will be probably within the next week or two. Belladonna amaryllis belladonna, I think, is the technical name, and they are non-native and therefore are not really loved here at Sea Ranch. But there's one right in the middle of the trail that I'm heading down. Wonder if anybody will do anything about it. Yeah, the Sea Ranch is not a utopia. It is a homeowners association. And it has many of the powers of a government, but it is not a government. It does not collect taxes. Instead, it collects dues for the homeowners and lot owners of the HOA. And they have quite a significant sized staff, which do many of the upkeep and maintenance and other activities related to keeping the Sea Ranch in good shape. I believe I keep on this trail and don't detour. I better check my trail map to be sure. Okay, so I'm at 145. That is right about there. Yeah, I go to my right and not around the loop. Looks like it's Pomo Creek Trail that I'm currently on. The Pomos are the Native Americans from this area, and they do have a community up the hill from here, the Stewart's Point Rancheria, and I'm sure other areas. But in any case, yeah, it's a homeowner association. It's run by a board of directors. They're the ones who are at the top of the pecking order of the homeowners association, and they have under them a number of committees that keep things going. There's like about 20 or more committees doing various activities. And as a recent homeowner, I did join a committee called the Vision Committee. And no, it's not a committee that is responsible for finding eyeglasses for people or doing seeing tests. It is about the vision of the Sea Ranch, maintaining it, communicating it, enhancing it, thinking about the future, thinking about the present, and all the things that are involved in that. Gee, that's kind of a large charter. Well, one of the things they're doing right this year is a design awards, will be happening in the fall for homes that have been built over the past several years. They're doing a family activities on the beach. They are doing there's a schoolhouse, a historic schoolhouse, Del Mar Schoolhouse, and they're going to have an open house there in a few weeks. So lots of activities to make people aware of the Sea Ranch. And that's really what makes Sea Ranch so special is all the different people who are volunteering and doing these things because they just enjoy doing it. They respect the vision of Sea Ranch, which I've been told is summarized in living lightly on the land. Well, you know, when you build houses, that's not terribly light, but you can build them in a way where you work with nature and don't fight it. And I think they've been pretty successful at that. So it's no utopia, but a lot of hard people doing a lot of hard work. A lot of hardworking people doing a lot of work. That's what I meant to say. And they're my neighbors, as well as colleagues on solving problems in many cases. You know, what are the challenges we need to tackle? Find your way through this particular trail here. Looks like we're getting towards a fenced area. Oh my goodness. Okay, we'll carry on. Well, I made it out of the woods, and as it turns out, we're right next to, I don't know if you call it an amenity or what, but it is the wastewater facility of the northern part of Sea Ranch. So don't go wandering around in there. The north part of Sea Ranch does have a sewer system. The area where my home is and to the south, it is all septic based. But that works just fine. No problems with that. This is Deer Trail Road again. We could have just walked up this road if we weren't directed off into the woods like we had been. But that wouldn't be much of a trail hike, would it? So we are going to be walking along Deer Trail here for a while. But fortunately we have a nice little mowed area on the side, so we don't have to actually walk in the middle of the road. That's kind of nice. Yeah, so hike on. Well, it's quite a little walk. I've been coming up this deer trail along the side of the road. Got a ways to go yet. So we will continue on this path. This is the northeastern part of the Sea Ranch. Here's one of our little golfing friends out there enjoying themselves. All right. The Sea Ranch golf links were closed for about a half year, maybe it was a year, not sure. But they finally found a way for the golf links to be taken over by a nonprofit, and it was reopened. So yay. For those who like to golf, you can come and golf at the Sea Ranch. You don't even have to be a member or guest. Anybody can golf. Go take a look at their website. I'm sure you can find it by Google. In any case, yeah, up here in the northeast part of the Sea Ranch, there are some interesting facilities. One is a group of houses called the clusters, and they're kind of all together in a group. There's also a children's play area, and these aren't exactly multi-family houses, but they're sort of all somewhat together, and they have sometimes shared garages and so forth. But Sea Ranch in general is not the highest density place in the world. Houses are pretty spread out, so this is a bit of a unique area. There you can see some of the housing which are somewhat closer together. But there's still, it's still a Sea Ranch, so there you go. So I have to keep going here a little while further. Starting to get a feeling for maybe doing another song, but we'll save that for a little bit later. This is one of the tees at the Sea Ranch golf links. I see we have the black markers and the blue markers for, I guess, where you can tee off from. And what's interesting is you better have at least a little bit of distance on your swing, because you're going to be crossing a bit of a swamp, or at least a creek, I don't know, in order to get to the fairway. So give it a good swing because you don't want to get tangled up in that brush, that's for sure. Well, we're finally getting to the end of our Deer Trail Road segment of this walk. Coming up to marker 150, which I believe this one is. Yeah. So we continue on down here into the woods and on to the county park. Gualala Point County Park. Oh, got a little bit of technology there. High power going every which way, it looks like. So the Circ has a marked rest point at that park. So there goes a fox. Hello, fox. How you doing there, buddy? Yeah. We see some gray foxes here every once in a while. Is he going to be continuing down the road there? He's gone off the trail. But anyway, nice to see a fox. Anyway, so I'm going to take my break, halfway break, at that rest point, if I can more or less identify where to rest. The park is really nice. It has a lot of trails. You can walk down to the beach. There is a fee for entrance if you're parking there, although residents of Sea Ranch can actually just walk into the park from adjoining trails. But it's a very nice facility, whether or not you're staying at Sea Ranch, to come visit the Gualala State Park. They also have a campground where I did stay briefly one night when I came up for the work I was doing for purchasing the home that we now own. And that was kind of nice. It's a very pretty park. It's down by the river, the Gualala. It's actually pronounced Walala by the folks locally here. The name Walala, even though it's spelled Guala, the theory is that it was derived from Valhalla, which is, of course, the mythical place of the Norse gods. But anyway, it's not spelled that way, and it's not even really pronounced that way, but it's called Walala. Anyway, so that's a nice campground down by the river. If you have a van, I'm sure you'll be quite comfortable. Okay, where are we here? Looks like another service road. Let's take a look at the sign. So this is 151. So I think we continue down this road to get to the park. Yeah, so this is Badger Trail. That's the name that I read on the map for this area. I haven't seen any badgers yet. We did see that little fox back there, but it looks really more like a fire road, service road of some kind. But it'll connect us down to Highway 1. I can hear the traffic in the distance. As I mentioned, Highway 1 is quite busy at times, so we'll have to be careful crossing. All right, here's the end of Badger Trail. And this is the entrance to the road to the campground. Gualala Park, County Park Campground goes down that way. Looks like there's some people parking over here. And here is Highway 1. And we'll be crossing over to the day use area once we find a gap in the traffic. Okay, well, let's take a cautious look. Looks like I can make it across okay. And here we are. Okay. And now we're on the other side of the road. So I'll go find myself a place to take a break and rest for a little bit. Okay, well, we're walking down the entrance road to the day use area. And there is a little kiosk where you can buy yourself an entrance ticket. Gates locked at sunset. Okay. Down the road, you will come across a visitor center, which is open, I believe, only a few hours on the weekend. But I've been in there and they have some nice displays and exhibits. Well, we're coming up to a area of picnic tables. Seems like this would be a good place to take a rest. So that's what I will do. Find a picnic table and sit down and rest for a bit. Enjoy the county park. My smartwatch tells me that I've been hiking about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, and that I've gone about 4 miles so far. So it seems like a good idea to take a little bit of a rest. So give it about 15 or so minutes to just let the old bones ease out a little bit and the muscles relax. And then we'll get back on the trail. All right, rest time is up. Let's carry on. Here in the county park, there are various facilities, but there is this one little grouping of towers right in the entrance area. That kind of looks like a railing to hook a horse up to. And of course, this particular tower has some figures in the shape of horses. Not sure if this particular design is Native American or possibly Russian. Of course, the Russians have come down this way in the past. Russian River down south of us, Fort Ross. Anyway, so very interesting. Haven't seen where this came from. See if I can find some signs. Well, as I walk away from that area, we can get a beautiful view of the entrance of the Walala River to the ocean. Although this time of the year it would not be flowing through. But I'm coming down here where, let's see what this particular sign says. Siberians in Walala. So I guess it is indeed from the Russian heritage that this particular exhibit is memorializing. Let's see. Very interesting. Well, I am not strictly speaking following the path of the Circ at the moment. This is actually the entrance road to the park, and down that road is the visitor center. So I'm going to walk down that way and then join the Circ path a little bit later. As we walk along this road, we're separated by a fence from the Sea Ranch golf links and Sea Ranch itself. Not sure what hole number that is, but I'm sure it will be visited by folks today. It is a Sunday, so people should be out enjoying our wonderful seaside air. Of course, we do have fog today, or at least coastal clouds, and that does resolve sometimes late afternoon, but It's now about 4 o'clock. I don't think it's going to get resolved today. We'll probably have clouds all evening as well. But, well, when it's sunny, it's very beautiful. And even when it's not, it's very beautiful. All right, onward to the Circ Trail. We're still in the park, and we will continue to be in the park until we cross over into the Bluff Trail, onto the Bluff Trail, heading to the south. But this is a fairly straight shot across the top of the Sea Ranch land, still in the park, and then we'll head south. Yeah, I enjoyed visiting Gualala Park. It has a nice open beach, which is the end of the Gualala River. And during the winter rainy months, the river punches through, and you can see the river flowing to the ocean. However, this time of the year, the river flow is much less, and the punch gets filled in by sand. And so I guess the river is mostly just going through the sand to the ocean as opposed to over the sand. But it's a very pretty area. I have one of my visits seen an eagle, bald eagle, sitting near the visitor center. Actually, there was a dead tree down on the side by the river edge, and a female was sitting in the tree just looking over the river, trying to think about lunch, perhaps. But yeah, it's a very pretty area, and has a lot of little animals. I've seen rabbits, I've seen deer, I've seen egrets and herons and all kinds of other animals. So certainly worth a visit, even though you may have to pay a parking fee. Looks like we're coming up ahead to the entrance to the Bluff Trail. We'll be right there in a minute. Well, we've made it to the ocean. Careful, danger, unsafe cliffs, stay back. I can see why they say that, because it's quite a little drop down from here. But if you stay back, you can certainly enjoy the view. I'm sure you can hear the waves. We're going to be hearing a lot of that in the last part of this trail. So the Bluff Trail does head to the north, up to the beach area that I was talking about. A lot of points for viewing the ocean from up there, but you can actually get down to the beach as well. To the south, mostly cliffs, so we'll be on the Bluff Trail. It is a public access trail. And it says it's about 3 miles to the walk-on beach parking spot, but about 2.25 miles to walk-on beach itself. Actually, that's about as far as I'm going, because my house is just about that far down. So looks like we got about 2 miles to go. Let's go. Yeah, so as we walk down the Bluff Trail, we will pass a number of houses along the way. The houses facing the bluff, facing the ocean, and usually have a really nice view of the ocean. But as you can see in this area, there's a large meadow, and the houses are positioned around the meadow, facing towards the ocean, but back from the bluff itself, which is very nice. Be able to keep the bluff area open for everybody to enjoy, not have it closed off by some houses that block their view or whatever. So 2.5 miles, 2.25 miles, that's a little bit of a walk. I did promise you a song, Since we've just exited the park in my rest period, maybe I need to get my energy moving. So we'll break out a song probably in a little bit. All right, that's a lovely house there behind me. Got a nice little curve to it, very pretty. Okay, so this song is a little ironic in that it talks about being out in the woods. However, I'm not in the woods. I'm on the bluff trail. And the only woods are the cypresses that are facing the bluff trail. And they're not exactly what I would call woods. Although we do have hedgerows that we will be passing through. And the hedgerows do have a very wood-like feeling. But they're very narrow slice of trees that were planted to break up some of the wind that blows across these bluffs. So that would be out in the woods in the bluff trail. But here on the bluff trail, we don't have those kinds of woods, so that's where the irony lies. Out in the woods, way out there, out in the woods, I met a bear. Now this song, it's for a scout troop, that kind of thing, right? And the whole idea is when I say something, I'm the sort of the lead singer here. Then the group chorus echoes what we say. So for example, out in the woods, way out there, way out there, out in the woods, I met a bear, and then everybody sings together. Out in the woods, way out there, out in the woods, I met a bear. So as we sing along, you can fill in the echoes for yourself. But I'll carry on. I think I'll start from the top. Let's do it from there. Out in the woods, way out there, out in the woods, I met a bear. Out in the woods, way out there, out in the woods, I met a bear. I looked at him, he looked at me. I sized up him, he sized up me. I looked at him, he looked at me. I sized up him, he sized up me. Then said the bear, why don't you run? I see that you don't have a gun. Then said the bear, why don't you run? I see that you don't have a gun. And so I ran from that big bear to the nearest tree way over there. And so I ran from that big bear to the nearest tree way over there. The nearest branch was 10 feet high. Least I could do was jump and try. The nearest branch was 10 feet high. Least I could do was jump and try. And so I leapt into the air, but I missed that branch way up there. And so I leapt into the air, but I missed the branch away up there. Now don't you fret, and don't you frown, 'cause I caught that branch on the way back down. Now don't you fret and don't you frown, for I caught that branch on the way back down. So that is all. There is no more, lest I meet that bear like I did before. And that is all, there is no more, lest I meet that bear like I did before. All right, that's the bear out in the woods, yes. And we are hiking on the bluff trail, not in the woods. So we got a ways to go yet. So we'll keep on walking, and if we see anything interesting, I'll let you know. Just as I said that, I turned around and saw this really interesting house with very, very distinct windows. It was for sale a few years ago, and I actually had the opportunity to go in and take a look at it. Fairly big house, right on the bluff, although set back a little ways. So, very nice house. So this is one of the hedgerows that I mentioned. Very densely populated by cedars mostly, but probably other trees. But yeah, they've been here for many, many years, but over time they get to a point where they're no longer viable. And so Sea Ranch has actually implemented a project to review, study, evaluate the hedgerows. In some cases remove trees, in some cases plant other trees. Very big project which will go on for some time, but it's all part of keeping the environment of Sea Ranch in a good state. Marker 72. All right, carry on. Looks like we're entering an area where there's been some home construction. This house looks fairly much in progress of construction. So Sea Ranch was started back in, I guess the 60s was when it was first planned out. Houses were starting to be built in the 70s, 80s. There was a period when there was a moratorium for construction, and that was in the 80s. And the moratorium got lifted by something called the Bain Bill, which put into law certain features of the Sea Ranch, reducing the number of houses that were allowed and establishing things like this public access trail. This trail goes from the park down to Walk-On Beach, and that was part of the arrangements of the Bain Bill to have these public access areas. Oh, here's one of our historical markers. Let's see what the history is. World War II practice bombing target. Naval pilots based in Santa Rosa practiced dive bombing here as part of their final pre-combat training. They used Gualala Point Island, a prominent offshore landmass, to identify the target, which was in the vicinity of the large mound seen in the meadow just 50 yards from this spot. The large mound in the meadow. Well, could be, I don't know. Let's zoom in here. Could it be this pile right there? That looks like a little more than 50 yards. It's like 100 yards. Could it be this pile right here? I don't know. Hard to say, but with this construction, maybe that's blocking the actual pile. Incidentally, the island they were referring to is this island, Gualala Point Island. A lot of birds out there, a lot of guano. You can maybe even hear them. But fairly large island off of the point of Walala Park, and used for figuring out where to drop those practice bombs. You can tell this is a public access trail because of the little signs that indicate coastal access, little bare feet in the waves. Well, I can assure you, you should not be walking this trail in bare feet unless you've got very, very good thick calluses. My feet are well protected by a pair of boots that I picked up at the local cobblery, but once you get to the beach, you might be able to find some sand that you can take your shoes off and paddle, but right here we got cliffs and rocks. Many of the hedgerows follow streams, which the bluff trail has to cross, so we go down towards the stream. And pretty tight area there. Fortunately, we have the Trails Committee on it, building a little bridge. Although perhaps this is a public access trail, so perhaps the county built this one. Hard to tell. But good to have a little crossover to this stream, which is surprisingly full for this time of year. Guess we're still getting drainage. Okay, so there is a turn to the left for the Salal Trail, which heads towards the park back that way. But we're going on the public access bluff trail, so a little bit further on. Okay, come through this wooded area where the whole river is keeping all the vegetation fed. Another bridge, some more steps to climb. Thank you for putting in the stairs for us, the steps. That helps a whole lot. Notice that there are no bicycles allowed on the bluff trail. That's because much of the trail is right next to the edge, and with a bike you sometimes lose control a little bit and you could just plop over very easily. So bring your walking shoes, but leave your bikes behind. Here on the Bluff Trail, we actually have a section which is part of the Del Mar Landing Marine Reserve, which is a protected area. Inside here is a guide that I guess you can take a photo of and be able to learn a little bit more about the animals and other items in the area. So let's march on. Del Mar Landing. Well, let's see, there's a historical marker right here. Maybe let's talk a little bit about it. Vicinity of the Tongue Landing and Rutherford Dairy. 985 acres at the Sea Ranch's northern end was primarily used by Rutherford for dairy ranching, including a large dairy barn, prior to creation of the Bender Brothers lumber mill. Part of the acreage was leased to Gualala residents Joe Tongue to grow grains and fruits. Okay, well, that is, I guess, part of the landing. This area is really quite beautiful. Very rugged rocks. You can see the ocean is quite active here. Yes. If you're landing here, you better be careful, because there's lots of opportunities to go astray. So pick your time very carefully in order to make it in. All right, on to the trail. Ah, yes, another meadow with the houses set back, just like the prior meadow we were on. But there is another historical marker here, which is why I stopped. We're learning all about the history of this area. So you can read that for yourselves. The Russian colony, 1912 to 1913. Unwise financial arrangement prevented them from realizing their dream. Wow, that is sad and not entirely unheard of. What's interesting is there's a QR code down here which has a more lengthy version of this story. So you might want to just take a picture of this and see what the full story is all about. There we go. This is the short story. Onward south. Just off the trail is a rock that has a couple of, about 3 or 4 cormorants sitting there resting. They usually don't get so close to shore when they're usually out on the rocks further out. But I guess these guys feel pretty safe where they are right now. Just off the trail. Yeah, the walk has one dramatic view after another. These rocks have an interesting porosity in their surface. But beautiful view along the bluff trail. Thank you for putting up a nice little guardrail here. Gotta be careful around the bluff trail. Easily wander off into areas you shouldn't be at. Oh, there's I think that's a heron straight ahead of me. Let's see if we can zoom in. There he is. Right where I'm heading. I'm guessing he's not going to stand there as I walk past. I see another couple of people coming towards it as well. So I'm not sure who's going to disturb him first, us or me or them. But he seems to be enjoying the view quite a bit. Well, it's a public access, so he's got rights to be here too. All right, we're going to walk towards him. I'm sure he's going to move away, but we will approach gently, quietly. Oh, there he goes. He has decided to move on, which makes sense. Didn't see where he headed towards, but I guess he went oceanside. Uh-oh, another history lesson. Get out your workbooks and pencils and learn some more. Del Mar Landing and Lumber Mill. William and George Bender, San Francisco lumber dealers, established this mill across the cove where homes now stand. Okay, across the cove where homes now stand. I guess right about there. Nice cove. At Trail Post 58, a beam remnant reaching out to the sea marks the site of the Del Mar Landing. Here, a small dog-haul schooners were loaded via a wire chute. Okay, so it looks like we have another QR code, so we'll give you a chance to see the rest of the story here. All right. Onward we go. We're getting close. not too much further to get back to the end of our trail. I heard a couple of kids over there calling out to a bunny, and indeed there is a little rabbit in the meadow. That looks like a cat. It's not a buddy, is it? Looks like a cat to me. We'll have to study this separately. But yeah, he's sitting just like a cat would. Well, that's a bobcat. I don't know. Well, we're coming to the end of the Del Mar Marine Reserve. We got about another quarter mile or so of this journey. And it's a good thing we're coming to the end, as my battery on the phone is showing around like 11% or something. So probably going to keep the video shorter, maybe a fewer number of stops on the history markers. There are many around Sea Ranch. That little marker there shows that we're exiting the Marine Reserve at that point. So onward to the rest of the remaining part of the trail that we're going to be on, and hopefully get a little bit of a rest after this. All right, onward we go. Okay, making an exception for one more history marker. This one's a pretty cool one. Site of the Klamath sinking, February 4th, 1921. Klamath, a merchant steam vessel with the capacity to carry 1.2 million board feet of lumber and 60 passengers, was on its way to Portland when it encountered, didn't go well. Yikes. So it broke up just off the shore here. Perhaps where these rocks are. Not a good place to be if you're in a boat. There's also rocks offshore right here. So getting close to shore in a storm, not going to end so well. Here is the QR code for the longer version of the story, if you would like to read all about it. All right. So we're marching forward. Well, we're getting close again. If you see in the distance, right about there, that is Walk On Beach, which I believe is the best beach at Sea Ranch. And just to the north is Sea Pine Beach, which is just in front of our house. And a nice little peninsula that you can walk out to and watch the sunset. So we're still a little ways from there, about 1,000 feet, I guess. I don't know, maybe more. But I like a horse coming back to its stable. I can tell I'm getting close. So I'm going to have to pick myself up to a trot to get back in the barn. So onward we go. This is the last big meadow before we get to our area. Very pretty meadow. Usually at least once a year they fence this meadow off, as well as most of the other meadows at Sea Ranch, and bring a flock, or would it be a herd, of sheep. I guess sheep come in flocks, not herd. But they come in here, they chew up the grass, cut it back a little bit to reduce some of the load on possible fire, because these are all dried out by now. And yeah, it's kind of fun. I have a memory of their visiting the meadow next to our house. It was kind of neat seeing all these sheep running around and doing what sheep do, which I guess is eating and buying. Okay, so I said there was one last historical marker. I'll make another exception for this one. I talked about a little bit earlier. This is one marker I'm well familiar with. It talks about our old friend the Banebill. Let's take a quick peek at it. The 1972 passage of the voter-approved Coastal Zone Conservation Act. Sea Ranch became embattled with the commission which was charged with regulating development. So yeah, basically in 1980 we had the Bain Bill, which reduced the planned number of residents, introduced 5 public access trails to the Sea Ranch, as well as scenic easements along Highway 1. Now the reason why it's planted here in the middle of this meadow is because this meadow is part of a scenic easement. Highway 1 is just on the other side of that hill where the houses are built, and there's probably at least one little sliver of Highway 1 visibility behind this house in the middle right here. But any houses that are controlled by the Bain Bill have a limited height of about, I think, 24 feet or something like that. So you can't build very high. But in general, houses at Sea Ranch are not built very high. But Bain Bill unstuck all the locks of, debates about what should be developed here. And we got the development happening at a much lower level than it was originally planned. Okay, last push to home. Okay, we're coming up to the public access trail for walk-on beach access, and that sign is at the end of that trail, which goes up this way. That goes to a parking lot on Highway 1, and it comes down here so that you can go this way to walk-on beach. However, we've had an issue, and if you can read the fine print, let's see. The issue is access to walk-on beach is closed due to washed out trail. Oh, yikes. However, you can go to the north all the way to the regional park. All right, we'll see where it's closed in a minute. But that's unfortunate. This is indeed the home stretch. We're coming up to the area where the trail is blocked, but let's walk a little further on. Keep on walking, and normally the bluff trail would keep going straight ahead, but at the moment you can see there are some barriers to continuing on to the bluff trail. You can see a sign here: no public access to walk on beach. Trail washed out in January. No public access on the bluff trail going south from this point, which is quite unfortunate. The washed out trail area, can't quite see it from here. It's around that curve. But instead we have to walk back, take this spur trail, which comes out to the cul-de-sac of Sea Pine Reach, which is a small street, and that will be the end of our journey, because that's where I started it from. So in order to get to walk-on beach, you have to follow this path and go up the road to the ellipse, and there's a meadow trail and so forth and so on. So there is an alternate route to get there. It's just not as straight and clear as it used to be. But it's all on private trails, so public access is not allowed, but Sea Ranch members and guests can access it through there. Let's take a look at my watch. It says we've been going for, well, really 4 hours, because I took a 15-minute break, maybe a little over 4 hours. And we've gone about 7.5 miles. And I'm in my zone of 130 miles per beat per minute. That's actually a little higher than I'd like. So I will be resting very shortly. But it was a great walk. and I'm really glad I was able to do it. The One Third Circ, Circumambulation on the northern part of the Bluff Trail. So am I ready for the real Circ, 20 miles? I don't know. This is the longest I've walked in quite a long time, 7.5 miles in one go with at least one rest stop. So it's quite a day, really enjoyable. I'm really glad it was kind of overcast because it was cooler, not so hot, didn't have to worry about that. So worked out well. So thanks for joining me.